And welcome to the show. My name's Tom Wise.
I'm Melinda McKinsey.
And thanks for stopping by because we're unpacking some shit.
We really are. Tom and I are two great friends that like to talk about things. A lot of times it ends up talking about male versus female. We don't mean to, but we're very different people. And so we unpack some stuff, and whether we agree or disagree, we still are very honest. And so thank you for contributing and responding to our show.
I mean, last week we talked about that, saying, we don't plan on it's a man versus woman show. And we talked about we look at things from different angles, and we're surprised sometimes. And we weren't 3 minutes into the show before we were on, we were right at that same spot. Oh, I thought you were talking about this.
It's so funny because there are times you'll say things and I think I know exactly what you're talking about, and I couldn't be more wrong.
It's crazy. All right, here we go. My list.
Yes.
Change. Test joke. Aggressive men. Trumped. Facebook recommendations.
Those are all things I want to talk about. We're going to have to talk fast. Okay, mine is TikTok.
Ooh.
Feeling alive. Stress versus social media. Harvard. And your first heartbreak.
Wow. All right. We are all over the planet with that one. Go ahead, you pick one out. I like all of those.
Okay. We'll eventually get into politics just because it's a historic time. So instead of starting off with politics, I want to talk about this TikTok thing I saw. I am not on TikTok only because it's another social media thing that I can't rationalize the time for.
Right.
But TikTok has some very interesting things. And what they did was they put a question out there, and they said, for women, what would you do if there were no men on earth for 24 hours? What would you do? So I'm going to pose the question to you before I answer this. Tom, if there were no women for 24 hours, would you do anything differently, or what would you do in the world for 24 hours knowing there were no women anywhere?
So the whole thing becomes a sports bar and my man cave, the whole world.
But that's stuff you could do with
right. Yeah, I'm saying. So what is it? So what's the implications of no women? I mean, I don't have any women in my life telling me no on anything. I would slow down my dating. I don't see anything. I may be missing the point of the question. Okay, what do you think? Yeah. What do you think? I mean, I go a day without seeing people out here. So
yeah. So okay. Yeah. By the way, Tom is in Florida. I'm in New York. So also that's an interesting thing too, because very different locations.
Now, if you say it's 6 months or a month without women, that might be, I don't know. It'd be different one day.
I would love to pose that question, but I want to stick with what they stuck with because it was a very interesting answer.
Sure. All right.
Do you have a guess as to what women would say if they were on Earth for 24 hours with no men anywhere? What do you think women would want to do if there were no men around? Wow. And not the fantasy, the reality. I know in every movie we jump on trampolines topless, but in like the real world.
Well, I think women accommodate men more than men accommodate women. I mean, women, whether you like it or not, you're not going to go out in public probably without zero makeup and just throw on a shirt, where you always think you're obligated to dress for whatever occasion. I'm going to Lowe's. I'm dressing for Lowe's. I'm dressing for, a dinner out. A guy's like, okay, it's either my fancy t-shirt or my regular t-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I go to Lowe's with, gym shorts and a t-shirt, and I go, hell, I was at the Tarpon Turtle, which is one of the nicest restaurants, with a t-shirt and jeans. It's like,
right. Well, so this didn't surprise me because when I read it, I wanted to think for myself before I got, swayed by the answer.
Yeah.
And my answer, because, I'm an older woman. I'm not in my 20s anymore.
Oh, no, you're not, Ron. But you look like you're 28, 29.
I'm proudly 59. I will be 60 in January. So I do have a different feeling about myself as I present myself in the world. Definitely when I was in my 20s, I cared a lot more about what people saw or how I presented. I will say now, of course I care, but it's a different level of like not worrying about too much about my sexuality. Like I don't have to worry so much about that. Here's what women said, Tom, that I know you're gonna find this fascinating because you have 2 adult daughters. The biggest response, and I'm going to read them directly, but the biggest response is women overwhelmingly said, wow, I would go out late at night and not worry about being assaulted.
Ooh, that's an interesting thing.
I would not have to carry something to protect myself. I could go in a bar and drink and not worry about my safety. It was sad and heartbreaking because my first thought was, oh my gosh, I could stay out really late and walk home at 3 a.m. and not look over my shoulder.
See, that doesn't even come on my radar.
No, your radar was how we looked in our makeup and stuff.
Well, I was just spitballing. Although I have talked about the fact that I have this late in life realization that women feel themselves as, prey way much more than I ever thought that it was even possible. I mean,
Yeah. So here's some of the responses. One woman said, I would go on walks at night all by myself.
Really?
We can't even do that. Think about it. I purposely don't wander around at night because it's almost like you're setting yourself up for some trouble. You know what I mean? As a female. Another woman said,
it's almost like, well, she's asking for it. She's out here. It's 11 o'clock at night in the park. What are you, crazy? Well, she must be asking for it.
It's a terrible truth. Another woman said, I would dance until 3 a.m. without any fear at all.
Wow, that's sad.
Any fear at all. Another woman said, and I thought this was good too, I would wear a bathing suit to the beach and I would actually go swimming because she's that concerned about men. Men can be cruel about our bodies, really super cruel, even to strangers. Another woman said, I would ride my bike all by myself.
That saddens me.
It's very sad. Another woman said, you're not gonna like this one either. I would be able to walk alone and just breathe. This is the real world that we live in, that we're
done for the day. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Instead of teaching men to control themselves, they teach women, don't wear this, don't go there, don't do, that is the world that we live in. But here's one that I do want to discuss. Another woman said, I would be more confident on social media. Right? Why is it that in that framework, and I do get it, when I was younger, I cared very much what the men folk thought about me, but now I guess because I'm not trying to breed or have kids or compete with other women sexually, now I think that's why older women are so confident. We are not competing with the young girls sexually anymore at all.
It's interesting when you hit that age, because I've hit the age too, where you don't, not in a terrible way, but in a good way, you don't give a shit.
Don't give a shit.
I don't want to offend people. I don't want to make people uncomfortable. I don't want to boss people. I don't want to, tell people what's going on. It's like, I'm going to quietly be myself. And hopefully you find me respectful and caring and empathetic. But if you don't, then I really can't, I don't give a shit.
Right? So as far as this question with your daughters, I think it'd be an interesting dialogue for you to have with them to see what they say about, because your daughters are lovely, tall, gorgeous women that are going to get attention when they're out in the world.
Well, I was listening to a podcast. I think it was NPR or whatever. I flip on whatever at night and I'm just drift off to whoever. But I stumbled upon women talking about Trump. Okay. Women that engaged with Trump in the 80s.
Okay.
Right? And it was like, one gal was on an airplane, and this was an interesting thing that they did was, if you're a tall, leggy blonde, you were sitting in coach, and there was a seat up in first class, well, the stewardesses were instructed to go back and get this hot women and bring them up to first class. Yes. So this happened to this one gal, and she's popped next to Trump, and he's like, within minutes, groping her. He's got his hand on her leg. It's like, what? It was insane. And she's like, that's back in the old days that nobody, sounded an alarm or hit a foghorn. Like, this guy's out of control, and he's trying to, within minutes, trying to kiss on her. Now, I don't want to make it political, but I'm sure replace Trump with another businessman who thinks he's entitled, right? It's insane.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane. It was kind of the price of admission of being an attractive woman. Like, you're going to have to fend off these guys all the time. It's constant.
Yes. And I will say, when I was younger, I had it going on. And I would often, if I was out in a bar with my friends, I would never go by myself, because as a female, I personally didn't feel like I could go myself, which is unfortunate, because then it's like, oh, you're obviously looking for a date, right? If you go by yourself, as a female, you cannot sit in a bar by yourself. And if a man would approach me and try to like send me a drink, and if I said no, what's your fucking problem?
This is interesting. I think this all works against me because I'm not an aggressive person. I would not be the Trump guy or whatever, the
Yeah.
businessman putting my hand on a person. So then I think a woman has a hard time picking up my more
Yeah.
subtle signals,
Yes.
and they're waiting for a more overt signal, even if they are interested. And I think it's an interesting dance because
Yeah.
I've been on dates and situations where, yeah, I'm interested in you, but I don't want to be an asshole about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make subtle hints, like maybe put my hand on your shoulder, maybe the small of your back, whatever. It's gonna like a little touching thing, little dance. But if it's not reciprocated in any fashion, I'm going to accept that. I'm going to understand that as being, yeah, no, I'm not interested. Where they may be waiting for me to be more aggressive, or I don't know, or hold, whatever the thing would be. And
It's confusing, Tom, because as a female, we get hit on a lot. I'll never forget. I was like in my early 20s living in LA, and I was in a work environment. I was working, and I was, as you do, unfortunately, a lot of things that women do will be seen as sexual. So a man came up to me that was working at the same place I was working at, and he said, "Hey, quit licking your lips like that." And I was, because you're just like licking your lips. And he goes, you do understand what that does to people? And I felt embarrassed. I was like, oh, shouldn't be licking. Oh my God, I had no idea. I was like, instead of going, why don't you go fuck yourself? I'll do whatever I want. And it's your problem, not my problem. But I made it my problem because I was young enough. And he said it with such confidence. Like, what are you doing? You can't lick your lips like that. Isn't that crazy? But women get it all the time. And I grew up in an era where you shut it down. Oh, I don't want to.
well, that's an interesting thing. I get it both ways. It all depends upon context with me. What if you were constantly adjusting your bra? Every 3 minutes you're adjusting your bra. You're free to do whatever you want to do, but somebody might say, "Hey, honey, you're sending off an interesting signal to the office here."
We know not to. We know not to touch our bodies.
You're allowed to do whatever you want, but
Not
if I had a piece of lettuce in my tooth, I wish somebody would come up and tell me, "Hey."
Yeah, it's I will say it's changing.
It's all context. I can see that being extremely rude as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the world is changing. I'm very excited to see the younger women being more direct and saying, you can't put this on me. I'm not going to own what you think. Just like the whole thing about, oh, she's asking for it.
Right.
If I want to wear a little dress and go dancing, it doesn't mean I want to fuck you.
I agree 1,000%. 1,000%. How about a guy who's constantly adjusting himself down here at the office? Jerry, you got to stop grabbing your junk. You're driving everyone nuts. We don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Women aren't attracted. You're doing it unconsciously. You're unconsciously grabbing your junk. My brother used to grab his junk constantly. My mom was like, "Stop scratching yourself. Stop adjusting. What's going on down there?" She had a lot of questions, and all of them ended up, just stop it anyway.
Just stop it. Well, and I will say, as a female, we don't find that attractive. We're never going to see him dress himself and go, "Oh yeah, baby."
How big is this? What's going on down there? Look at him adjusting that junk all the time.
It's not the same thing. So yeah. So anyway, I thought the TikTok thing was very interesting.
Yes.
I didn't think you would see it that way because, again, even though we've talked about it, even though you're more aware of it now, it's not a normal part of your thought pattern of like how frightened women really are when we're out in the world.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's by the way, I know that some people are doing very well on TikTok. I know I've got a comedian friend, not a friend, but that I listen to his podcast and I've been to a show. We worked over at the Side Splitters together. He's doing very well on TikTok, taking old jokes he's not doing anymore, that 90 seconds, and he's doing them on TikTok, and he's getting tens of thousands of responses.
I'm not saying I won't look at it.
Dusty Slade.
I will.
There, you got his name on me.
So let's promote that guy. All right, let's hit one of your topics. You've got really good ones today.
Well, it's funny because that aggressive men thing kind of tied in with that your other topic, because I was confused. I was meant to talk about that, like because aggressive men ruin the pool for guys that are reasonable. All you have is these 6%, 3% of guys that are jackasses sending dick pics and grabbing women and causing everybody to be tighten up, and then it's like you're already at a 9 when some guy approaches you and says, "Excuse me, I just thought you looked nice and I wanted to say hi and introduce myself."
Yeah.
I wanted to do something reasonable. All right, how about this?
Yes.
How about change and recommendations or test joke? Your choice.
Change. I like the idea of change.
Change. It looks like I'm selling the ranch.
Yay!
I've been out here 10, 11 years. It's lovely, but it's, I'm looking around, I'm saying, gosh, the next guy's got a lot to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never replaced the roof. I've never upgraded the bathroom. I never did anything. I've literally done nothing except in the office. I put in a couple big windows, made this into a little exercise space. And that's nice because this was my space. But the rest of the house is how I bought it 10 years ago. And it was 30 years old when I bought it 10 years ago. So, but that's going to make me moving into a little tiny little spot. I'm going to move in with my brother.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that. But I'm saying, you're going to have no space. You're going to have your bedroom. And then, of course I can roam the house at will, but, I need to, it's going to be interesting living with somebody else. And it's only an experiment. I could go buy a little place somewhere and I probably will, but I'm looking to downsize and, I love Patrick. We get along great. We're going to play music.
Yeah.
We're going to write. It's going to be fun. So I'm putting the 6-month thing on it just to put a number on it. So it might last 2 months. And I was like, we want to kill each other or whatever.
Yeah. Well, isn't moving one of the top stressors in life?
I guess. I mean, you move 11 times, by the way. The good folks at Carry Card tell you that you move 11 times in your lifetime if you're a United States citizen. Condos, storage, downsizing, upsizing, going to college, coming back.
Yeah, I've moved more than that. I mean, I was a Navy brat, and then I moved a lot when I was married. Moved a lot, and it is stressful, but it also can be very exciting. A fresh start, a new environment.
Yes, I mean, this is gorgeous out there. I'm very lucky. 5 acres and a pond and the horses, and my gosh, I'm hating moving now because October, November, December, January, February, it's sublime out here. It's sunny, it's 70, it's stunning. So.
Yeah. Well, and you've had some great brunches there. Your house is perfect for brunches, the setup, the layout, and 5 acres. Not a lot of people live on 5 acres.
No, it's like I take it for granted on one hand, but whatever. The whole world then becomes my oyster. I can go wherever I want, perhaps.
Right. The freedom of having a smaller space, I think, does open up the world.
I mean, I'm feeding horses. I don't ride. I'm repairing barns. I don't go in. So it becomes the maintenance spot, And if it was my nature to, if I loved it out here, I'd be painting fences. I'd be happily humming while I'm working on piping and irrigation and whatever. But
yeah. What was your favorite thing about the ranch? Like, do you have a favorite thing?
I do enjoy the space. I do enjoy the. It's really sublime. I mean, you drive in, you got the cypress. Come in and your blood pressure goes down, although my blood pressure never was high. And it's the pond, and I do enjoy being able to make noise. I visited friends in an apartment, and I started playing you can't play the guitar here. It's 10 o'clock. What? Why not? Because I got 7 neighbors, and you can't make any noise. We got to be like very quiet. You go, I don't think I'd like living in an apartment like that.
Right. Although in New York, it doesn't matter. I mean, people live on top of each other. I'm lucky enough to be in a house now, but when I was in the apartment, people would play music and play drums, and really it's kind of an accepted way of life here because we're on top of each other. So people kind of know, and in the neighborhood groups, if someone says, so-and-so was playing the guitar, everybody will pounce on that person and say, this is New York, this is, and okay, all right.
I mean, yeah, I like that. I don't want the guy bowling, above me, but if you're making a happy noise unto the Lord, then you should feel free to do that.
Yeah. But change is good. Change is going to be exciting. I can't wait to see. I hope you start traveling the world, and as soon as the world is, pandemic.
Well, that's why I'm hunkering down for 6 months with, my better half.
I'm super excited for you. I cannot wait to hear the antics that you and Patrick get into because he's musical too, right?
Of course. I think I'll add a little, energy into his life. He can be very,
Maybe you and Patrick can start a TikTok.
I was thinking about Patrick and I, because he's funny and he likes writing. I said, we could create a little 48-minute act and take it down to Miami and, entertain the old folks with a little bit of music and some Tommy Smothers Brothers type jokes and stuff,
Oh, I love that. Okay. I can't. That's super great. I love that. Okay. So which one of mine do you want to talk about? Feeling Alive, Harvard, stress or your first heartbreak?
Let's do first heartbreak.
Okay. Okay. So here's my actual question, and then I'll answer it after you do.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember the very first time you had the true heartbreak? Maybe not necessarily your first girlfriend, but your true heartbreak where it affected you in such a way that you knew this was going to stick with you. You knew this was like the big one.
Oh, absolutely. I think I've had two really, there's two first. Can I say two first heartbreaks, and I'll explain them both?
Yep.
The first one was my first girlfriend when I was 16.
Okay.
Right. So that was an amazing relationship as far as puppy love and this, that, and the other thing. I mean, I remember that first kiss like it was yesterday, and it was 40 years ago.
Yeah.
More than that, 45 years ago. And then I got the feeling as a 16-year-old boy, we're 4 months into our relationship. It's like, I got to breathe. I can't.
You guys do that all the time, man.
What's going on? This leash is a little tight.
Oh no.
So then I break up with her. I don't know if it, whatever, 4 months, whatever. We break up. And then 3 weeks later, I'm miserable. What have I done? I'm an idiot. And she's already hooked up with somebody else. And the hooking up means just dating. No one's having sex.
Yeah.
We never had sex. And but she was dating somebody else. And I was in the orbit, and then it's like I was just miserable. I ended up taking her best friend to the prom. It was kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean, no, she wanted me to take her friend, and then we ended up dating again, but it was never the same.
Yeah.
That lasted about 6 weeks, and we said, because she was always looking at me askance. You dump me, and it's like, what's going on? And they never figured it out. But that was the first one. So I guess it's heartbreak, but she didn't break up with me.
But when you were heartbroken, let's dig in a little bit more. What does that mean for you? How were you feeling? How did it change your day? Like when you say heartbreak, what was your heartbreak?
Well, at a 16-year-old guy, so I was confused. It was interesting to have that, well, wait a minute, you didn't have no relationship with this woman 6 months ago, and now you're wrecked. You're walking around like a zombie. But it was so long ago. I don't know how I really came out of it, but I remember that I just knew that it was a terrible mistake.
Wow.
I felt really badly.
And did she know that? Were you ever able to communicate that to her?
I don't think that we were that on that plane where we're revealing those emotions to each other like that. Not that I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
But we just gosh, all I know now is the little bits and pieces of that relationship, walking home from the movies, first kiss, interacting with her folks, and but I don't really remember any specific conversations.
Okay.
What about you? How old were you when it happened?
I was a freshman in high school, and I was still a little bit of the outcast because I had moved into this school in Indiana. I was living in Hawaii. I lived in Mississippi for a year. So I was considered exotic. I was quite exotic because in this little rural school.
You're Hawaiian, for God's sakes.
And I did have the very long hair too. I had the hair down past my waist and all this stuff. And these Indiana people, they're from Indiana, right? They're landlocked and they're mostly farmers. And so it was a very.
What? Hang on. Indiana people are from where?
A lot of the people that went to my school, was a rural school. They were farmers, that was their livelihood, and that was everything that they knew. So here comes this, for the guys, it was great. I was fresh meat. For the girls, not so great. I was fresh meat. And so the girls didn't love me at first. So here's what happened with my heartbreak. Because I was the newbie, people weren't sure how to handle me. And I started dating, whatever dating was at that time, because we didn't have cell phones. We couldn't keep in touch like kids do today, right? And I lived out in the country, and it was very far to go to where I lived from most kids that lived in town. And my number was a rural number, so it was long distance to even call my house. So I was in a bit of a problem there. So I I don't know how I did it, but I was able to date a guy that I thought was super cool. He was a football player, very popular, and a year older than me. So, oh my God, so exciting, right? I thought I loved him. And this was my first real, like, wow, my first guy that I really like made out with hardcore, all this stuff, right? So I convinced myself I loved him. I couldn't even tell you how long we dated, but he broke up with me in a note at school. He handed me one of those fucking notes at school and said, we're done. And I don't even know why, but here's the thing. I found out later when I got the note from him. And of course I was devastated. And of course I started beating myself up. Maybe I'm too fat. Maybe, all the things that girls think. I'm not attractive enough. Maybe I'm not funny. Maybe I'm not interesting. Like I was thinking every date, when did it happen? When did it happen? I went home. Do you remember the song? I'm trying to think who sang it. The song Feelings. Feelings, whoa, feelings. I had the little 45. I went into my room. As soon as I got home from school, I threw myself on the bed. I had a record player. I put that 45 on and I played it over and I was like, oh, like sobbing, right?
I did the same thing when I broke up with Jennifer.
Sobbing.
Yes.
And just beating myself up. Well, I found out years later, because I think this is an interesting part of the story. I found out years later, I was a freshman in high school. I still consider that very young. I wasn't having sex. I wasn't, any of this stuff. Well, I found out later, he found another girl who ended up being his girlfriend that would have sex with him. I can't compete with that. I felt so much better when I learned that because I really took the hit myself because there was no explanation. And why is he going to tell me, look, because I wouldn't let him do anything physically, right? I wouldn't let him he tried and I said no. And he seemed respectful at the time. He seemed respectful. And then in my girl brain, I never even put that together. I never thought, oh, are we breaking up because I wouldn't let him touch my boob? I never thought that. I wasn't smart enough to think that. So when I found out later he was actually having sex with someone, I can't tell you how differently I looked at him and how relieved I was.
Right.
I was broken. I was ashamed. I was embarrassed to go to school. I probably stayed home the next day. I was too embarrassed to go to school because I felt like everybody knew. Because in those days, it was a small school. There was less than 200 people in my graduating class.
It doesn't take long before everybody knows what's happened.
Everybody knows what's happening, and I felt ashamed. So yeah, I'll never forget it because it broke my heart. And now that I look at him as an adult, he's still in Indiana, and it's nothing I would have stayed with in the long run. But in those days, he was the hot football player, and I thought it was pretty fancy. So tell me about your other one.
Oh, well, we broke up without any really, I think I was 21.
Okay.
She broke up with me. I was devastated.
Yes.
And I remember it was the same thing. I forget what song I was playing, but it was the same song over and over and over. I think it might have been the Beatles something. Just play it over and over again. Just weeping on my bed. You know what? But you evolve and you understand and things happen.
Yeah.
And then it becomes fine. But I think what's important is I remember my niece was posting on Facebook that she had a horrible breakup and was just devastated. And then I told her that, you will get over it. You feel like it's the end of the world. And I think if you know that it's going to be time, but there is another side of it. Because when you're in the middle of it, you don't see any other sides.
No.
And so anyway, now we're laughing about, you and I can laugh about, but you weren't laughing about anything when you were 16 and 21, it was devastating.
My entire world, everything I considered and thought of that had value to me broken.
Here's the worst part of it, because now you've broken up with your best friend, and that's the person you want to talk to about how shitty you feel and how horrible you are. But no, your best friend doesn't want to talk to you anymore.
No. Yeah. No, it's a big one. So at 21, you don't remember exactly what the breakup was about, why you guys broke up?
I do, but I prefer not to go to specific details.
You don't have to unpack shit on our unpacking.
Well, I do. You know me, I'll talk about anything.
Yeah, I know.
But people can reverse engineer it and come up with stuff, whatever.
Yes. But the whole point of this conversation is with your first heartbreak, you always remember it. You never forget it. It's a very big deal. It encompasses who you feel like you are. And as you get older and as you date more, if you're lucky, you're going to have a couple heartbreaks and you're going to learn your way and learn your value.
And I do agree, better to have loved than lost than not love at all, right?
Yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah, so you got to risk it. That's fine. I'd rather feel something than nothing. So there you have it.
It's worth it, Andrew Cuomo. It's worth it.
How we doing? We got an update? We should have a weekly update on that.
You know what? I don't. I'm embarrassed to say I have frozen in my tracks on, I know it's not like me, Tom. I am so concerned about coming across as some needy, clingy, like, you're the governor, I want to date you because of that. And so
did you read the book yet? Did you read his autobiography, or is some book that?
Should I though? Because that seems a little, I don't think I want to know that much about him. I'd rather learn from him than do that whole
you got to come in with an angle.
Well, I think in my head, my whole angle is.
So okay, I'm going to treat you like you're pitching a product.
Okay.
So why do you want to date the governor?
Because I am very, very impressed by his leadership abilities during this time. And because I'm so proud to be from this city, one of the reasons I moved here is because of the attitude of New York. And he really encompassed everything that I felt about this city of, like, it's hard now, but we're going to get through it. And I feel like I've been through some hard things in my life, and I hear what he has to say. And I'm impressed by that.
How do you feel your relationship, and how can you add value to his life?
My God, because I mean,
just answer the question.
The best girlfriend. I am so much fun, and I'm so in love with New York. I think that has a big component. Is I'm so in love with this city, and I would love to see it from his side.
I like both those answers. That's the first part of any kind of communique with the governor. Now your job is to get him to read that. Now maybe you find out through a book or a friend that his favorite food is pizza or whatever.
And I take pictures with pizza?
No, you deliver that food with that letter to the governor, and it's delivered by somebody like a serviceman. Somebody's not going to say no to. I've got something for the governor, blah, 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 blah. That's how so in some charming way, you deliver his favorite blah, blah, blah with that letter in it.
As an official.
It's a handwritten letter.
Oh, I love handwritten letters.
You're going to handwrite on stationery with perfume a little love note to the governor.
Can I tell you something? I don't wear perfume.
I don't give a shit what you're wearing.
Rub it on my body. I don't wear perfume. I'm kind of
sweat from your armpit and stick it on the envelope.
They say that men actually do
connect pheromonally.
Yeah, like prefer women's sweat. Like it's a big turn on. Okay, I'll work on that. You're right. I guess I have hesitated because I don't want to appear like a stalker. I want to appear like a casual.
Yeah, of course. But you're one of 10,000. You got to break through. When you're watching a commercial and you're seeing a unicorn shit rainbow poop into a cup because now they're selling some sort of poop product.
Yeah.
You got to break the monotony of one roofing commercial after the next attorney commercial. So they break with something that's I've never seen a unicorn shitting rainbow poop. What's going on? So you find out his favorite food. Find out where he went to college, right? Then you get some college kid with that sweater to deliver the food in the letter. He's not. He went to New York University. So you get some guy that's from New York University. He's got the hat, got the jacket to deliver that food and letter. How can he say no to that?
I do love that. Because then he doesn't know if I'm crazy or cool.
But regardless, it's going to be his. So now here's what you needed. And this is what's happening. You need a silent endorsement to tell somebody that you're not crazy. Right? Yeah. And so by having somebody from his world of, New York University approach him, his defenses will be down, and you've got the silent endorsement from New York University. And then this person now has the governor's attention. He's not thinking it's a crazy person sending him some poison,
Yeah.
Right? So now food, this is how to a man's heart. And then the letter is the close of the deal. Let's get this done tomorrow.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. I like it. I have more free time this week. I am putting on my list.
I've got free time to find a lover, a governor, lover. And there's 49 other governors too, by the way.
Okay, on my list is start dating Cuomo with a star. So I'll do that. I like your ideas. They're very good.
Yeah.
Do it. Do it. Okay, so you had something in your list of topics that I think it just said Trump.
Yes. This is an interesting. Here's what happens when you say F you to the world. All right. Just as an observation of how to do business.
Yes.
As the president, I was out of the box. He was like, F you Wall Street Journal, F you New York Times, F you CNN, F you. And I'm saying, are you crazy? You're going to build this whole animosity between these news organizations and you? Wouldn't you think it's better, I mean, long-term serve better to embrace these news organizations and try to be on good terms? Because all you need is the New York Times and the Washington to be using all their resources to dig into your dirt. Calm down. Everybody's going to have it. You're going to find people with opposite opinions. Just let it, roll off your back like a duck because you're the president. You got the position of authority. And I thought it was just a poor strategy. I'm not saying red or black or anything. It's just a poor strategy to run the government or just as a person to build up all these enemies, right?
Yeah.
Just being pragmatic. Because I always contend that if Trump did 10 things differently over the last 4 years, he'd still be president with a rousing approval rating.
Yes.
Absolutely. But he's done things that turn people off.
Yeah.
So this later thing is that, did you read that you've heard this morning how Pfizer thinks that they've got a vaccine? And
90%?
they've been sitting on this for 2 weeks.
Yeah. What does that tell you?
It tells you, and then Pfizer also did not purposely take any government money for the research.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you're happy, sir. You were able to spout to F you him and F you this. Well, guess what? The guys at Pfizer said F you to you.
Yeah.
And again, could you imagine if he was nice to big business or to everybody?
Yeah.
Pfizer would have been breaking their butts to get this thing out before the election. Right. But they sat on it on purpose.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. And not because I'm not a Trump fan, but because from a business point of view, why do you burn bridges? Why would you ever burn
exactly, burning bridges? Why burn all these bridges? You need bridges.
You need your bridges, and you don't have to get along with everybody. And that's been the debate I've been having on social media. Is I've still got some, people that are very proud. I'm going to use the word proud Trump supporters, and their debate with me is that, hey, he tells it like it is. Hey, I can relate to him. Well, here's the thing that I feel about this. You can tell it like it is and be respectful at the same time. I have lost any respect for him because here's the thing with respect. You earn it. You don't demand it. You can't demand respect. That's not real life. And the people that are saying, I relate to him because he tells it like it is, you're relating to the lowest common denominator in our human population. That is not the way to do business. You're
related to the guy who's correcting you on Facebook and dropping a lot of F-bombs and this and that. It's like nobody wants to get that from the president. I got two qualifications. What or maybe three.
Okay.
Would I want my son to be like that? Would I want my daughter to marry someone like this? Would I like this person to be my neighbor or my boss?
Right.
Probably not. And then when every time somebody wants to defend him, they go into 20 minutes of he may not be this guy. He may not be that guy. Well, you know what? I don't want the guy that's not that guy and the guy that's not that guy.
I saw a great post that said on yesterday, it said, hey, evangelicals, did you vote for the guy that went to church this morning or did you vote for the guy that's at the golf course?
Yeah. No, they voted. I don't know. I'm confused. I just hope everything settles. We just want calm. We just want a great economy. We want a fair place to raise your kids. I mean, that's all we want. We don't want, no one wants to live in we don't want anarchy.
Right. I think for the most part, everybody's on the same page. The division seems to be the misinformation about what it takes to get there, right? Everybody
Yeah,
wants to be paid,
yeah.
everybody wants to be able to make a living. So it's been interesting, but a final note on this. I would say, you're doing your job wrong if the day you find out you lose, people are dancing in the streets.
I saw that meme too.
Maybe relook at yourself.
I know. I don't think he's got that gear.
Well,
It's sad because my laugh line was, we don't think he's all wrong, just mostly wrong.
yeah,
Because he's done some good things. There's no doubt about it. If you look at the opposite party and it's all just negative, 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 I dismiss you as an intelligent person. Both ways. You look at Trump and he's all bad, or you look at Biden and he's all bad. You're dismissed because you're not thinking about it. People aren't just they're all shades of gray. Trump's done some good things. He's done some very good things for African Americans. Absolutely. He's changed the way that people are incarcerated in this country, and he's attempting some huge reforms, which is fabulous. He's done some good. He doesn't have that empathetic gear, or that gear. He wants to crush all his enemies. It's not a good place to be for the president.
The thing for me is him showing disrespect, even to reporters, saying, "You're dumb. You ask dumb questions." Like that.
It's the gear. If you're not, you attack the person. I mean, I was watching the thing, and it's like, really, you're gonna attack somebody? You're punching down. You're punching down. Nobody finds that attractive.
I think that's what America voiced. I mean, he not only did he lose the electoral, he lost the majority. And so since the majority has spoken, it's time to listen to what the majority has to say. And you're right. Biden's not all good. Kamala's not all good. There's a lot of work to be done. And I think that's been the misconception too, of like everybody thinks they're going to be in heaven now. No, there's
no, it's all work. It's all, it's all listen to the cops more often. Let's solve their problems. Let's come up with a formula that works. We don't want to crush everybody. It's not I win, you lose. It's we both win.
Right. And when I started,
and if elected, hang on, this is my stump speech. I'm just getting warmed up. 2024.
Listen, once I start dating Andrew, I'll share more information
with you
about what I have learned about how the underbelly really isn't good.
So is there a swamp that people are really living in? I don't get it.
Where's the swamp?
Where is that swamp?
Has it been drained?
All right, do you get any closing arguments?
Yeah, you know what? One of my topics real quick was, can you share a moment when you really felt alive? Because everything that's happening in the world, when you see the stress relief and you see people dancing and popping champagne, it made me think, when have there been times in my life where I've really taken it in and said, wow, this is a good moment. I will say Saturday was a good moment for me, not because Trump lost, but because of the joy in the world. We went out into the city and we saw people happy and celebrating. And I don't know that people were celebrating so much that he lost, but that there was hope. There's hope for something new and better. And I've definitely had moments in my life where things were happening and I just remember stopping and going, oh, thanks, man. Like, this is a good moment. One quick moment was I got this job in New York and I still hadn't really accepted that I was being successful because I was too afraid if I stopped that I wouldn't be successful anymore, right? Like, I didn't want to take it for granted. So one day a car service came to pick me up and I was on my way to the airport. It was a beautiful day and it hit me and I thought, I moved to New York with no job. I'm now sitting in a car service, going to the airport. They're paying me to travel. Thanks. Thank you. I'm feeling it. Thank you so much. Like, I still get goosebumps when I think about it. I'm so grateful. Have you had a moment recently where you're like, yes, thank you?
Well, I don't know recently, but I remember when I had a hotel room across the street from Home Shopping.
Yeah.
And I had a Today Special on the Total Advisor.
Okay.
Right? That was an item that I quit my job to source that product, to bring it to Home Shopping, to get it through QA, to do all the video, to sell it at 4:00 in the morning. The buyer was like, I'm just doing this as a favor because this is not going to sell. We go from that point to getting a 25,000 piece order. And I'm sitting there just before I go out I'm going to head over there. It's 11:00. I'm going to head over to the Home Shopping. I'm going, there you go. The whole thing. You picked up an item. You got it. You sold it for a little bit. Today's special, blah, 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 blah. That was very satisfying.
Yeah. So I hope the tip for the day is I hope people will take more time to take in their moments and really
Sure.
see where they are, because it does grow into other things and other people feel it. Being out in the city, feeling the joy of other people. It wasn't the hate that someone lost. It was the joy of a new hope.
Right.
It's contagious. So share that with the world.
Yes. I tell you, I have a hard time I'm very quiet on Facebook about the whole Trump thing because I know people are hurting. I know people are upset. People are mad, angry, sad. And so I have a hard time being overly exuberant when I know other people are having those types of feelings. But I personally feel a little sense of relief. I said, I'm looking forward to the next war rather than I was very like,
Yeah.
I'm going to not be watching news for 4 years, I guess.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
I'm excited for the world. I'm excited for everybody. So whether you're happy or sad with the election, find your moments.
Absolutely. Amen. All right. Well, we've done it. We've unpacked some shit for Monday,
Yeah, we
November
have
9th.
November 9th already. I'm Melinda McKinsey.
I'm Tom Wise.
Thanks for unpacking some shit with us today.
See you on Wednesday.